Hi, this is Trev and welcome to my blog. It's been a long time, hasn't it? And this video is in two parts. So the first part is going to be about the DIY spray booth. So I did a mini series just a short while back on how to paint a car, and I showed you my DIY extraction, and I breezed across a couple of items in there just to keep the video brief really. So I'll answer the questions that have been asked the most. People getting a bit confused with the size of filter. There does seem to be a great deal of people that are under the illusion that the smaller filter they have, the more efficient it will be. Actually, it's the other way around. The larger the surface area of the filter, the more volume of air you will shift. Think about it like this. Think about trying to breathe through a drinking straw. Put it in your mouth and breathe through it. You can't breathe through it very well because it has a very small aperture. And it's the same with the spray booth filter. I get where people are probably coming from. They're probably thinking you've got more filter, you know, on a bigger filter, more fabric to slow that airflow down, but actually you've got more gaps to let the air through. So hopefully that's cleared that one up. Also, what type of fan to use. Really, you should be aiming to use a fan that is for ventilating flammable liquids. So I think they call them like a spark proof fan. You could get a second hand one from an old spray booth. That would work very well. So getting around to the sort of practical side of this video, it's the inlet filter. What a lot of people have said is, I put an outlet filter on there and it extracts the paint absolutely fine, and it works fine until I put anything in the inlet, and then it can't come through the inlet. It kind of blocks it up. And I know exactly where you're coming from. I had the same issue, and I used a piece of professional inlet fabric from a proper spray booth, and I just basically peeled the lint-free backing off and just used that. So there's the minimum amount of filter in there. But it was a bit pointless of me to say, oh, what you need to do is go and buy hundreds of pounds of a filter and just peel the back bit off. So that's probably why I breezed over that bit. Anyway, I do have, hopefully, a solution for you guys. The filter is directly up there. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to measure this filter aperture to give you an idea of the size. Like I said, the bigger you can make it, the better it's going to be. My design is based on an end extraction, so there's just a small filter at the end of the workshop, and I've got one coming through the ceiling directly above my head here at one end of the workshop. If you go back to the original video, you'll see the little diagram I drew on that. And professional spray booths work like this, or they work where it's floor extraction. So the whole of the ceiling would be the inlet and the whole of the floor would be the outlet. But we're talking DIY, guys. Keep it simple. There are other variations on spray booths, of course, but these are the two main ones. So let's get this filter out. And oh, this is what I've come up with anyway. As a cost-effective alternative to hundreds of pounds worth of filter is some weed control fabric. Extremely cheap. This roll costs £8, I think, for 10 square meters. So that's pretty good, isn't it? Only precautions really with this stuff is it is made out of polypropylene. It will melt, and it would catch on fire as well. So you want to sort of be thinking about putting things like space heaters up against it. Big no-no. If you've got a space heater, you know, like in my one, I've got one in the next room, and it's vented through the roof, so it sucks the air through the roof. It's not going to be a problem, but you don't want to be putting a space heater sort of 2 foot away from it, because all it's going to do is just melt rapidly. This is lint-free, and it allows air to come through. How much air? We're going to find out, because I'm going to fit this and we're going to do a little test. This is just a timber frame, knocked up ever so straightforward. It's just screwed together, and what's holding it into the roof is 4 screws. So it's just got one there and one there, and the same the other side. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to undo 2 screws one at each end, and then a whole lot just swings down, and I can do it from either side. And I just made another sort of timber frame up that's actually part of the ceiling joists, and then it's just screwed to that, ever so simple. And let's get it down. I'll show you me getting it down. This is the original filter. You can see how dense it is, and that's why I had the problem that other people are having, where they can't find a filter that'll let the air in very effectively. And this is why I've cut this out. So this is the bit that I had peeled off the back, you see. So basically just peeled the backing off. And that is, I think that's a bit of old outlet filter that I think that's an old outlet filter, a fine one, like a pre-filter. And it's just like, I've peeled it, I've taken the top layer off and used that to try and catch some of the dust. So I need to get everything out here that I fitted. Incidentally, this is just chicken wire, so you need to support the fabric the same as the outlet as well. Just put some chicken wire. Of course, that chicken wire isn't going to stop anything, but what it does is it just supports and holds the weight of the filter, stops the filter from being dislodged or dragged through or whatever. I've kept the old filter as well, the back in, just in case this doesn't work very well. So I'm going to get the new stuff up now. I'm just going to use a staple gun to secure it. You can see how porous it is by the light shining through the fabric. Look. I'm going to go put the fan on, and I'll be able to tell quite quickly if there's any air coming through. Well, it's certainly letting air through. How much air, I don't know, but what I can tell is how easy and how hard it is to open the door, because normally it's quite difficult to open the door, and it's certainly no more difficult than it was before, meaning that it is actually letting some air through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to light an incense stick just to see if there is plenty of airflow, and then I'm going to do a smoke bomb test. You can certainly see that from the direction that the smoke's heading, it's going straight in a downwards direction. I got these smoke bombs. I'm going to light these directly beneath the filter, and I'll film it when I turn the fan on. And I haven't really got it from the best angle. The best angle would have been from the side, but unfortunately this workshop just isn't wide enough to get the camera far enough back to see what's going on, but hopefully we'll get some sort of idea. So I'll light these up and I'll get plenty of smoke up into the room, then I'll turn the fan on, we can see what happens. side of the workshop's full of smoke and this side's completely clear. So that's cleared that pretty quickly. It is really hard to quantify if this new fabric filter that I fitted is better than the old one. It's hard to quantify because my roof void is now full of obstacles because I've run out of space and I'm just putting stuff wherever I can. Those things are obviously probably causing some kind of obstruction. I don't know whether that's slowing it down, but it seems to be working as well as the old one did. Anyway, so it is a solution if you're stuck. My filter size is 1.5 by 1.5 meters, and the spec on that We Control fabric was 50 GM squared. I'm guessing 50 grams per meter squared. I don't know, but that's what it's got written on it. In answer to the other questions that I keep being asked, which is, we haven't seen much of you. What have you been up to? What are you doing now? What are you going to be doing in the future? Are you going to be doing any more videos? Are you going to be doing a new project now that the van's finished? And so I just try and wrap those answers up neatly for you. This is certainly not a rant. That's why it's called Not a Rant in the title. These guys aren't there on YouTube that sort of say big rant about something and they just sort of end up screaming at the camera. Pete Hansford, I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, let's start with what I've been doing. So I'm not going to bore you to tears about this, but we've actually been operating now for 2 years with our van business. So the catering business has now been going for over 2 years, and I cannot stress how much time that has taken out of the week. I have literally put everything into it. Any spare time that I had is completely disappeared into that business. And if you've ever run a business, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very easy to look at somebody else doing something and sort of think to yourself, oh, that looks quite straightforward. It never is. If you're in business, it never is straightforward. So I'll just talk about a few points on that. About 9 months ago, I decided that we needed to build a new pantry. We'd made a makeshift pantry in a attic conversion, which was in hindsight the wrong thing to do, because to get any ingredients my wife's got to go up and down a flight of stairs. You can imagine how many times she was going up and down. Also, we knew that when the summer come round it was going to be a lot hotter in that room than it probably should have been. And so what I did is I did a role reversal with my son. My son went into the attic conversion and we used his bedroom as a pantry room. So I ripped all the floor up, I decorated, put a new floor down, bought some industrial shelving, and it's been absolutely fantastic. It's completely revolutionised what we were doing before. So that's worked really well. The problem is I've had to use my workshop as a place to dump stuff. So everything that come out of his bedroom went in the workshop, everything that was upstairs in the attic conversion had to go in my workshop. And it wasn't until we had the raging heat wave, because it was nearly 40 degrees folks, and in the UK that's pretty hot, on Monday, and Tuesday was pretty bad as well. And so I thought, well, I'm going to take the opportunity, as it's so hot I can't do anything outside. Tracy gave the baking a miss as well. She just did a bit of baking first thing in the morning and it was just too hot to do anything. So I thought, well, I'm going to lock myself in my workshop and I'm going to go through all the stuff, all the leftover bits and pieces, and get them all bagged up, get it down a tip, get it gone, put it away somewhere else. Let's try and see a bit of floor space. So I can actually now see the floor in my workshop, which I cannot tell you what a relief that is to finally see it after 9 months. And I have turned a bit of a corner actually, because a couple of months ago I decided to start doing a few other jobs that desperately need doing. I had the fencing replaced between myself and my neighbour last year, and to cut a long story short, my neighbour's property is at least a foot higher than mine. His garden is anyway. So every time it rains, all the chippings and the soil and everything from his garden basically washes under the fencing boards, under the gravel boards, because the guy that fitted the fence in, he didn't bed anything in. There was just massive gaps. He just literally put a brick under one corner of the gravel board to get it level, fired the fence posts in. The whole thing was crash bang wallop done in about 5 hours. You get what you pay for, don't you, I suppose? And if you don't spend much time on anything, then it's not going to be done as well as it could be. Upshot is, what I've had to do is I've had to go all the way along the fence, dig out all the way along and underpin it with concrete. So I've been doing that for, well, what's seemed to have taken a long time. Quite frustrating getting down a gap that wide to be able to dig it out. I dug about 40 bucket loads of stuff that was slowly, you know, the level up against my garage was actually getting higher and higher, and it's just steel on the timber frame outside, down that side anyway, and that steel was going to go rusty pretty quickly. So that's why I thought this job needs nailing now before I have to replace the side of the garage. So when I say I turned a bit of a corner, I actually managed to get the business running in a way that I was able to spend that time doing that project, which has been the first thing that I've done in over 2 years. It's been really nice being able to get on and do these things. I've also been taking a couple of carloads of junk down the tip every single week for the last couple of months, and it's unbelievable how freeing it is to not have all this stuff that's been dumped in the way because I've been rushing around, I haven't got the time. Old piece of furniture, I'll leave it there, I'll get rid of it one day. 18 months later, you're still falling over it, and I cannot tell you what a relief it is to finally start getting some order back into our lives and start addressing all these things. One of the things I really need to do, talking about moving forward, is we've got overspill in the workshop. I've now got 4 freezers, 2 fridges, a washing machine and a tumble dryer, all in my workshop where I'd like to have done my projects. So I've decided to lose a couple of outbuildings at the top of my garden, and I've got enough space to fit a 9 by 11 or 10 by 12, that kind of size shed, which will house all of these appliances and get them out of my way so I can actually claim my workshop back for its intended purpose. Its intended purpose is to do my own projects. So what I intend to do for the foreseeable future is I intend to make YouTube videos and carry on with that. So people that are interested in watching the YouTube videos, it's a big win for you guys, because that's exactly what I intend to do. I've been inundated with work inquiries of people, probably 4 or 5 a month easily, and when I'm actually producing the videos I can get 2 or 3 a week of these kinds of inquiries, which I'd be worried if I wasn't getting them, let's put it that way. But I've arranged my life in a way that it's not possible for me to do these things. I don't want to do these things. Obviously, I've talked about the business, I've talked about how time tight I am, and I ran a business in 1992 to 1999 restoring people's cars, and I gave it a good go for 7 years. I mean, giving something a go for 7 years is a good portion of time to work out whether or not you're going to be suited to doing it and whether you can make a go of it. And I came to the conclusion myself that it wasn't worth the hassle, and I haven't changed my mind on that. I'm operating out of an 18 by 12 workshop here, and there's absolutely no way on this earth that I intend on taking on work on people's cars, and that's just the way it is. And like I say, it's not a rant, because I couldn't be any happier with the way that our lives are turning out now. I'm more or less doing exactly what I want to do on a day-to-day basis, and I couldn't be happier about that. So like I say, it's not a rant. These people that do rant about things, they've normally got themselves into a situation where they're not happy with their lives, or they go into business, and it's really tough. It's really tough being in business, particularly on cars. It really is. And I read an extremely interesting article a couple of weeks ago. I can't for the life of me find it again, but I read it and I took it in. And this guy is very successful, and he's got a fantastic workshop, big workshop, big open, light, loads of kits, and extremely good at his job. And he's basically taking cars and restoring them for customers. And he was saying in this article, he was saying, read this, don't contact me. If you want something doing, don't contact me. Because what he does is he takes cars between 1930s, 1970s, and he completely restores them. And he says, ballpark figure, everyone wants to know everything it's going to cost. So here we go, ballpark figure, 1,400 hours. No matter what, start there and work your way up. If it needs like customizing or something, then it's going to be in excess of 1,400 hours. Now 1,400 hours equates on a 40-hour week to about 8 months. So I can kind of get where he's coming from. If you think you were working 40 hours a week every week on the same vehicle, but what we're talking about, when you're in business, the phone doesn't stop ringing. You don't stop being interrupted by different people, and this is part of the reason I don't want to do it. I just want to have a space where I can lock myself away. This workshop, I can lock myself away. I've got no distractions, I've got no interference, and I can do exactly what I want. And then yeah, I can let thousands of people in the door by showing them what I'm doing, but I'm not getting that interaction person to person, because trust me, I've been there, I've done that, I've got the t-shirt and I'm not doing it anymore. And I keep hearing lots of things about people taking work on. You've probably heard it all yourself. If you're in the trade yourself, you've probably heard it a million times. And I hear about somebody needs a car painting, or let's just say they want a car painting. They're saying, oh, I need this car painted, I need this car painted. So then they get somebody involved, garage agrees to take it on. They say, look, I'll tell you what, it's going to be, you know, this is going to take X amount of hours. It's going to be this, oh no, I can't afford that, it's got to be done on the cheap. Oh well, we'll fit it in when we can. And then all you hear is, oh, why is it taking so long, why is it taking so long? And this is the actual situation that everybody seems to find themselves in. Is at the end of the job, the feedback people get is, well, it's taken too long, or it's not a good enough job, it's too rough, it's a nice job, but it costs a lot of money. You know, it's all this kind of stuff all the time, and there's no escaping it. There's no escaping the value of a car. I know cars have rocketed over the last few years, but like I was saying, that 1,400 hours, let's equate that to £50 an hour. Now, I don't know what mechanics are charging for doing service work, but I've heard of garages charging £90, £120 an hour or more. So would it be out the way? I don't know. I actually don't know what people are charging anymore, but would it be out the way to charge somebody £50 an hour for fabrication work? I don't really think it would. But times that by 1,400 hours, you're looking at £70,000 worth of labour. And you've got to make that work as a business. How can you make that work when, you know, 99.9% of car enthusiasts haven't got the budget? If they have, they don't want to spend it. And I see no reason. It never made me happy before. Nothing's changed. I can't see it making me happy again. So hopefully that answers your question, if that's the question you asked or you wanted to ask. So I've wrapped that up for you now. And this isn't pointed at any individual. Like I say, I get asked this constantly. People think they're unique coming to me, asking, is there any chance that you can have a look at my car, Trev? It needs some welding doing on it. And I think to myself, well, with the time constraints that I've got and the things I want to do, if I take that on, that means I can't do what I want to do that's going to make me happy. So it's just a flat no. It's just a flat no. Hey, I'm just doing what I want to do, and that's it now. The other thing, what's going to be the new project? Will there be a new project? Well, there will be, and it's going to have to be at the right time. So what I'm going to invest my time into for the foreseeable future is making fabrication videos, how to make repair patches, repair panels and stuff like that, without necessarily having £50,000 worth of tools to make them with, and that's my niche, and that's the way I'm going to carry on for now. I do have a project in mind that I would really love to do, and I'm not 100% made up my mind on exactly what I would do, but if you've ever heard of a guy called Chris Runge, then it would be something along the lines what he does. I stress something along the lines, not what he does, but he greatly inspired me with what he does, and I don't really want to discuss it any more than that. Please don't DM me, hun, because I'm not really prepared to discuss it anymore, but if I do something, it's going to be interesting. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say. I've got this big building project ahead of me to get all these appliances out, but what I intend to do is do the videos alongside, and I have started editing part 20 for the van. I needed the workshop completely empty to film the intro and outro sequences for part 20, and now I'm pretty much at a position now where I can drive the van in. I'm almost there, just got a few obstacles to just sort of tidy up, and then I can get the van in and I can do part 20. I've got a little bit of work to do on the van. Unfortunately, it's got a bit damaged over the last couple of years. I've got a seam as well that has got a little bit of rust forming in the seam, and I think it's being fed from the rear, because the actual seam is all brand new steel. It's all sealed up really well, but there is a lot of things like moulding fastenings that are basically just screwed straight through. If there's water running down there, then it could be getting in through the back, so that's something I don't want to let slip. I could really do with taking the passenger side door off and repairing the damage down that, because it got let go in a 70-mile-an-hour wind and ripped back on itself and split all the back of the door open, so that's something else. But nobody notices, so I haven't bothered to do anything about it, because, you know, obviously being so short a time and having no workshop. So I think that's about it. I will be back shortly, if not with part 20 next, then certainly with some sort of fabrication video, and I've got my press to make, and I've got all these fantastic, wonderful projects I'm really excited about doing, and I want to show you guys, and that's my mission, and I will see you soon. So until then, I will say bye for now.